welcome to the inaugural IDE annual conference. It's great to have you all here. I'm David Barrow, the Executive Director of the IDE, and I wanted to sort of do a little bit of a retrospective on where we've been, where we're going, and make sure that we're all on board with this exciting new activity. So. I was talking with Glenn Urban a couple of weeks ago about the origins of our research activities, and in 1998 we started out as the program on e-commerce and marketing, and that was sort of the title we had for the precursor to this entity. And pretty quickly in '99 we realized that we wanted to go to a higher order of focus. And we became the Center for Digital Business in 1999. Well, we've had a really great 15-year run. We've had a lot of support from the people here in this room to the tune of more than $40 million. It's been an amazing 15 years with hundreds of research projects, dozens of faculty involved, and many, many students, and truly a success by any measure. So where are we today? On the heels of the success of the second machine age that Erik and Andy wrote, 18 months ago, I guess, we've not launched this new activity, the initiative on the digital economy, and it's really reflective of a broader vision, a slightly different business model, a greater set of activities, and a passionate approach to solving the grand challenges of our time, and those were elucidated in that book. In fact, we have copies of the book outside. If you haven't read it, you're tardy on that one. So where are we going? This is a nice launching pad for the IDE, and we're really going to do everything we possibly can to change the conversation to something more positive and to optimize the impact of technological innovation. We're going to do that by engaging and hosting a broad variety of thought leaders as advisors and fellows. We have a fellowship program of visitors. We have an all-star cast of advisors. We're going to continue the tried and true of mind and hand research. The rigor and relevant work that we've done for more than 15 years at our predecessor centers has been pretty amazing. We're hosting myriad purposeful events. They're large and small, they're near and far. We had an event in London in April. We'll be doing events in California in the next fiscal year, and we have some things going on this summer. You're certainly more than welcome to any and all of those events. Some of them will be larger events like this, where there's more presentation style, and others will be very small dinners that people will come out with the responsibility of taking action, and a variety of everything in between. We are in the process of developing a challenge, a contest, if you will, and we'll be providing a little bit more information on that as we work into the fall. We've got a preliminary grant to help us fund that work from the Joyce Foundation. We're very happy for that. We are on the second year and coming this fall on the Action Learning course that Sinan Aral and Erik Brynjolfsson have developed, and Chuck Gibson is here in the room, and Susan Young also, who managed the process of that. And we're in process right now for that fall course, so if you have yet to get engaged with that, then you should speak with Chuck and/or Susan today. And really, I think something that we haven't done a particularly good job of in the last 15 years is really use the MIT platform more and more to push our messaging out. We've engaged a marketing and promotion firm, and I think you'll be seeing much more professional and more regular types of communications that really push forward our agenda and our research. So I wanted to take a moment to thank all of our stakeholders. We have a variety of CDB sponsors here, and BMW, Capgemini, Haier, HMH, Mass Mutual, and Saruga Bank have been significant sponsors for a long time. Particularly Saruga Bank and Capgemini have been with us for multiple 3-year periods of time. We are announcing our new founding member of the IDE and Accenture, and there are a number of Accenture people here in the room. We appreciate your support. Welcome to learning about our activities. And we have a number of members: Amazon, Aptio, CaixaBank, Dell, GMAC, Media 2050, Northwestern Mutual, Telefonica, and Zensar. So we've got a rich history of corporate support, and we'll continue to do that. But in addition, we are generating a lot of interest from the private foundations in the marketplace. We've already received significant grants from the Ford Foundation, the Joyce Foundation, the Markle Foundation, and the NASDAQ Foundation, and some of you are here today. It's great to have you with us. We also have had our first seven-figure individual gift from a donor. So we're striking a chord in a lot of different areas of stakeholders, and we're very pleased to have that group of stakeholders with us. So today's program is a bit of a classic drink from the fire hose day. We're going to throw 15 minutes of every single project that we have going on right now. It's going to be very, very rapid fire. It's likely that we won't have a lot of time for Q&A. So what we've done to stimulate conversation is we've put a host at most of the tables. You can see their names, and those people will be facilitating the discussion throughout the day, but in particular at lunch. So after the lunch keynote, we've got 45 minutes of lunch, and I hope that you'll have one conversation at the table at that point so that you can all be engaged and focusing on that conversation. So there might be a little bit of musical chairs here at some point in the morning as we prepare for lunch, so stake your claim at some point to your seat. We'll try to stay as close to time, but we own this day, so we're going to let it happen a little bit. We'll start with some introductory remarks by myself and Erik Brynjolfsson. We have a keynote from Stephen Altus from BMW, and then we're going to have sections of our four major areas of research: social analytics and experimentation to start, big data and data privacy, work and value in the digital economy, and digital business strategies. And each of the people that are managing that area of work will run those sessions. And we have yet another keynote at lunch from Mustafa Suleyman of Google DeepMind. We do have a poster session and reception at the end of the day, so we're going to have a very full day. But we only have this room. This room is our castle, but you're stuck here for the day. There's another event going on in the rest of this floor, so you'll be fed here, you'll have your conversations here, everything is here. So if you do need to make a personal phone call or do something else, there's public space on the third floor and the first floor of this building. Otherwise, don't roam too far. The Media Lab is a great host, but they only take our company so far. There is MIT guest Wi-Fi that's easy to get on. There's no password. And I encourage you to kind of shut down your work for the day. Turn your phone to stun, and if you've got to take a call, then feel free to go outside for that. But we've got you here. We'd like to capture your mind and your participation. And as you go throughout the day, Justin, Tammy, and Susan are running this show. You'll meet them in and around the day today. Thank them for the work that they've done on the event, and if you have any questions, then please feel free to ask them or me. So thanks again for your support, and let me invite our director, founder, and esteemed colleague, Professor Erik Brynjolfsson, to get the day rolling. Thanks, Erik.
Thanks, David, and good morning to all of you. It's an incredibly beautiful morning here in Cambridge, isn't it? And it's also morning, or at least early days, for the digital economy and early days for our new initiative on the digital economy. Arguably, this is the biggest technological revolution, at least of our lifetimes, the way that digital technologies, computers, communication technologies are transforming the economy, businesses, all of our personal lives. And you can see it in a variety of different ways. You can look at Moore's Law. You can look at the economic costs in terms of just the prices of computers and related equipment. And of course, anytime you show things like this that involve computers, you have to put it on a log scale. So they got orders of magnitude falling there from tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands to pennies and less over time. Meanwhile, the costs of everything else, those other lines kind of slowly increasing are the costs of all the other goods and services in the economy, capital equipment, labor, materials. And so there's a big switch going on there, a big transformation. And a rational manager is going to make substitutes over time, using more of the inputs that are becoming less expensive and less of the inputs that are increasing in price or aren't decreasing in price. But that takes time. It takes a lot of reinvention. You can't just buy 10 computers and replace 10 factory workers or 10 bales of hay or 10 tons of steel. You have to rethink how you organize your businesses. And managers haven't been doing a great job of that. There's a long, difficult transition that takes decades or more. It requires a lot of entrepreneurship as well to invent new business models for dispatching taxis and cars or for reorganizing a supply chain. And that's part of why we created the initiative in the digital economy and the Center for Digital Business, was to help think about those kinds of transformations. What are the underlying forces at work? What are the principles that can help guide managers? What are the examples of companies that have been very successful? And one of the reasons we like partnering with all of you in this room is that we learn so much from what's working in your companies and what you're seeing there and how that transformation is progressing. And there are also some very potentially important long-term profound implications. Andy and I have been doing a lot of work on for instance, labor and the workforce and what that means for that in terms of not just creating wealth and abundance, but also rearranging what kinds of inputs will be needed. We came across this interesting quote by Vasily Leontiev, someone who I remember studying as an undergraduate. I used him in my undergraduate thesis, but this is a different quote that we came across about whether horses are a harbinger of what's going to happen to humans. I'll let you read the quote there, but the gist of it is that he looked at what was happening with technology, that whole set of technologies, not just information technology, and saw that more and more human capabilities were being encroached on, and he couldn't see any reason why human labor was special, why it was any different than the labor of horses. And just to remind you about the history of horses, way back, horses weren't actually that useful as input production, but then we developed saddles and stirrups and chariots, and horses became quite valuable. And in the United States, at least, the number of horses that were working, the labor force of horses, peaked around 1900. And Andy and I are just finishing an article where we write about some of the history of horses and then also some of the ways that humans might be similar or different to horses. But I'd be interested, this is we learn a lot from all of you, so I'd be interested. Let's be a little cooperative right now and see if you guys can think of any ways that humans are different than horses, or if you want to make the argument that Vasily Leontiev had it about right, and just as horses became a relatively unimportant input to production, we're going that way. I mean, if somebody gave me a horse today and said, here it is, it'll work for you for $0 an hour. You can use it to ride between the Media Lab and the Sloan School or whatever. I'm not sure I'd find it. I think that might be too expensive, $0. I'm not sure I would really want to have a horse at that wage. So is that where we're going? Let me, instead of me talking, let's see. Do any of you guys have hypotheses as to how humans are similar or different than horses, or do you want to take Vasily's side? Who wants to step in?
Yeah. Humans are different because humans are also the units of consumption, and this is a one-sided statement. It's all focused on production.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. So horses, we want to feed them, but we're not, the whole economy isn't geared towards...
Horses don't decide what it is they want to eat.
We decide, right. But could you have a system where humans were consuming, but robots were doing all the production?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But you said what's the difference between humans and horses? Horses are, in this context, are production, right?
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and yeah, you can say humans are production, but so I can eliminate horses, but if I eliminate humans, I also eliminate consumption, which is the other part of the
So
economy.
we're not talking about eliminating horses. I don't think we're talking about
But for all virtual purposes,
Elon Musk.
but for all virtual purposes, horses have been eliminated.
Yes, yeah, the actual number of horses has gone down because they haven't been very useful. So we could have lots of humans around, even if they weren't, even the first part of the sentence was still true, not an important factor of production. So you're not disagreeing with that part.
Yeah, on the production side, no, but the difference is I can eliminate horses, I'll have a much tougher time from an economic standpoint eliminating the units of consumption as well.
Right. Anyone else have a different perspective? Yeah.
It's just a question. Is production truly unitary? Can we talk about production as a single thing, or do we need to talk about categories?
No, no. Producing, there's hundreds of thousands, millions of different SKUs in the economy that we're producing.
What I'm getting at is, we talked about the role of horses only in agricultural production. The role
Well,
of
there was
horses
for
in the production of horse-
transportation, but yeah.
The role of horse in the production of horse manure is just completely unchanged.
I don't know about that. I think actually that used to be an input that's not used nearly as much in agriculture.
We're just talking about outputs, remember?
Okay, yes.
So humans can actually fix a problem, as you saw with your microphone up front, right? There was a problem with a microphone, a human came up and fixed that, right?
Yep.
A robot or a computer or all the rest of that. So there are problems that we haven't programmed yet, and I think there will always be problems we haven't programmed yet.
So machines are probably better at things that we already know the answer, but if it's something unexpected that comes up, although certainly there are machines, some people in this room are working on diagnostic tools that maybe even could out-diagnose humans in certain areas. Now the dexterity of coming up here and figuring it out on the fly, obviously no machine is even anywhere close to that. Is that something you imagine machines will never be able to do, or is that something that as of 2015, there's a role for humans?
I think there'll always be the next problem that the analytics or the computer hasn't figured out that a human brain hopefully will also.
Always going to be that frontier. Okay. Any other perspectives on how we do? How about all the way in the back there? Yeah.
Kind of to his point, humans have critical reasoning and imagination, and that's probably one of the biggest differences between that and animals. So I think in pure production, yeah, you could probably get replaced by robots. But when it comes to needing different level of thinking.
Imagine these, not just fixing something that's there, but even inventing a new product, go as far as art or whatever, creating something truly new. I think that there's certainly today there's a big boundary there. I was talking to Tommy Poggio yesterday. Some of you may have seen him on the panel at the CIO Symposium. And I asked him a question a little bit like that. Is that a good division of labor? And he was a little cagey. He said, well, yeah, today, but he thinks that in the future there's no reason that machines wouldn't be able to do a lot more things that involve imagination. Andy and I write about it in an example where Bobby Fischer came up with a very creative solution to a particular chess problem, sacrificing a rook and putting his queen in danger. And it turned out 10, 12 moves later, it was very accurate. People for decades were writing about how imaginative he was in that. Today, if you take that same chess board setup, and you put it into your cell phone, and just a simple chess program on your phone will recommend the same thing that Bobby Fischer did. Not because it memorized what his game from before, but because it analyzes all the different possibilities enough steps out. And something we used to think of as imaginative and creative is now something you can kind of iterate. Or Carl Bass has talked about some software at AutoCAD that will design new kinds of filters and new kinds of devices that humans hadn't thought of how to put together. So that boundary is changing a little bit, but I have to agree with you. Certainly, for now, for the foreseeable future, there's a big chunk of things that machines can't touch them. You've had your hand up.
Yeah, well, horses have not gotten better in the last 100 years, but humans have. And if you want a measure of it, look at the winning times in the Derby, the Preakness, what have you, versus the winning times in any Olympics event. And
I didn't know
over
that.
the
That's really
century,
interesting.
humans have gotten better and better, horses have
So
stayed.
the horse times have not improved noticeably, I would have,
No.
okay, despite the horse steroids or what horse
So humans continue to evolve, horses don't.
Wow, okay. That's, hopefully we'll be able to evolve fast enough to keep up. Let's get one more and then I want to continue.
A differentiator from my perspective is, Jay said imagination. To me, it's inspiration. The why is the work being done. So the differentiator, there are drivers that, and maybe this is bounded by artificial intelligence and its development, but the desire to complete something, the desire to make something better, as opposed to following rules or following objectives.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. In fact, let me stop on that one because it sort of mirrors some of the things that that Andy and I have been kicking around. We came up with a list as well, and you can read more about it. We have an article coming out in Foreign Affairs next month where we take this really seriously. We thought this was kind of an interesting way of organizing our thinking about what's going to happen to humans, what can we do, what can we do different. Part of it is the way that the very first comment that came up about humans are consumption side. There's certain things that humans look for, some of the ways we're in production. Then we get to some other ones that are sort of like, okay, these are sort of our backup plans that if that doesn't work out, we can revolt or we can do other things. But at the end, I think, what we care about is mostly it's human consumption and human values. And to the extent that we get to design the economy, we're the agents of that, at least for now. We get to make the rules about how we organize production, who does what, how we organize capital ownership, how we organize wealth, and what the rules of the game are. And there's not a lot of real careful thought about what those rules should be going forward, what the digital economy should look like. But the initiative on the digital economy, at least in part, is to think about that both at the micro level, what companies, how they can organize themselves, and at the more macro level of the economy more broadly. So one of the things that, for instance, that we'll be unveiling much more in the summer and the fall is a new grand challenge that takes into account that these digital technologies, I showed you that exponential improvement in, say, the cost of digital technologies, but there's lots of other dimensions, are improving so fast. Our organizations, our skills are changing on a human scale much more slowly. And so if we just keep doing what we've been doing, we're not really going to solve that problem. There's going to be a bigger and bigger mismatch. And so we want to reinvent our businesses and our economy. And that's very much what the initiative on the digital economy is focused on, is that kind of reinvention going forward. So David touched on this, so I'll go fairly quickly. We mainly have organized into 4 main pillars, and you'll hear from each of them this afternoon: workforce and the economy, new digital business models, big data and data privacy, and social analytics and experimentation. The heads of each of those pillars are here in the room, and there's a set of researchers that are working in all of them. And of course, the boundaries blur across. There's many, even most of the researchers are involved in more than one of these topics, cuts across, but this is a way of organizing our work a little bit. And we also have these different types of activities that we're doing. Research is really at the core, and that's a big motivator from a lot of what we're doing. But we bring that together in events like this one. In July, we'll be having the event on platform economics, and hopefully you'll be able to come to that, where we've pioneered a lot of that work. We've got some more events coming up in the fall around workforce and the economy, a bi-weekly seminar series. If you go to our website, you'll see a whole set of events that are happening. More and more, we're ramping up the fellowship aspect of our initiative, bringing people in here, top researchers from other institutions, growing PhD program, more postdocs, and visitors from some companies are joining us as well. The competition, it's just getting underway. I think hopefully we'll be able to make some significant announcements later in the summer or in the fall about competitions around inventing new business models. Just as the, say, Darpa Grand Challenge has been very successful in motivating technological breakthroughs, first the self-driving car, and in 2 weeks there's the Darpa Robotics Challenge out in Pomona, California. If you want to go visit that, you can see robots like Atlas doing a whole series of tasks. we want to motivate not just breakthroughs in the technology, but on the business model and economic side, and we're structuring some competitions to do that. And education is at this point more aspirational. We get a few things going. David mentioned the program on big data and analytics that Sandy Pentland and I and Tom Davenport have been doing, and there's some other programs that we're sort of have in the pipeline there.